The United Nations Security Council will convene tonight in an emergency session following a request from Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. In a letter addressed to both the UN Secretary General and the current president of the Council, Iran's top diplomat called Israel's strikes against his country a reckless and deliberate escalation that blatantly violated the UN Charter and the most fundamental norms of international law, while Iran has also asserted its inherent right to self-defense and vowed to respond decisively and proportionately. Israel's Ambassador Danny Danon said their actions were both calculated and necessary based on clear intelligence and carried out in response to an escalating existential threat. And for more on this, we now cross live to our US correspondent, Sherwyn Bryce-Pease, and he joins us now from New York. Sherwyn, I know that we are going to be talking about Israel and Iran, but firstly, let's start off with, the first group of the SANDF soldiers landing in, of course, Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria. Really, there were a number of delays when it comes to recalling some of these troops, and now seeing them officially land, that also marred with more delays.
Yes, indeed. Certainly a fluid situation based on what we are hearing from the South African government, including the Minister of Defence, Angie Motshekga. But this has been a long time coming, obviously a lengthy process. You saw equipment being removed from Eastern Goma. It had to travel through, Rwanda, essentially one of the protagonists in that Eastern DRC conflict. But certainly a very fluid situation, lots of moving parts, and certainly the South African delegation probably better placed to really give us a better understanding of how that evacuation process was delayed, what the obstacles were, the logistical issues they encountered, the coordination between various SADC countries, part of the SAMI DRC mission, which is now defunct. Certainly more questions than answers here, but no one will be celebrating this mission. They want to call it a peacekeeping mission. But certainly a lot of failures in that regard, most notably the deaths of SANDF soldiers on the ground in Eastern Congo. But certainly let's leave it to the South African government delegation certainly to pronounce on this and give us a better idea of what exactly the obstacles were here. And I imagine a lot of frustration on the part of SANDF soldiers who are now returning home, battered, bruised, and certainly probably looking forward to seeing some family.
Certainly, Sherwyn. But let's continue now with another one of our top stories for today, and then talking about the Security Council responding to Iran's request for an emergency session. What should we expect, Sherwyn, from this meeting, given what we know? I mean, it's well-established inability to arrest conflicts, particularly when Israel is in the mix.
Well, let me tell you what to expect, right? You don't expect a resolution, don't expect a statement. Israel enjoys protection in the Security Council from a veto-wielding member, the United States. And our best example has been the crisis that continues to unfold in Gaza. Just 10 days ago or more, the United States vetoed a consensus resolution in the Council, essentially 14 of the 15 members voting in favor of a demand that a ceasefire be pronounced in Gaza, an immediate ceasefire, access at scale for humanitarian aid, the immediate release of the hostages without condition. The United States blocked that. So we imagine that, there will be a similar iteration by the United States in terms of council members seeking to hold Israel accountable here. We will be hearing from Rosemary DiCarlo, the Undersecretary General for Peace Building and Political Affairs, and she will reiterate what you heard in Kayalihle's package there in terms of the UN Secretary General calling for de-escalation, for maximum restraint, and pointing to the fact that this is a region that does not need another conflict, right? It is already has a number of fires in the region that is referred to as possibly making the entire region an inferno. And so there will be calls for restraint. But critically, Mbali, you also hear from the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi. Why is his briefing important? Because the Board of Governors of the IAEA out of Vienna on Thursday voted on a declaration essentially saying that Iran was not in compliance with its non-proliferation obligations for the first time in almost 20 years. The IAEA found that Iran was not in compliance in terms of declaring its nuclear materials and activities, and expressed concern about Iran's uranium enrichment, which could be used to make a nuclear weapon. They say that enrichment levels have reached weapons grade levels in Iran. Of course, Iran disputes this. They say that their nuclear program is for civilian purposes, that they do not want to develop an atomic bomb. But these are all matters that are likely to be ventilated in the Security Council. But let us not underestimate the impact that IAEA report had in perhaps giving Israel additional cover here to go in and make these strikes on military targets and nuclear facilities in Iran. But the Iranians also writing to the Secretary General and the President of the Council, asserting their right in terms of the UN Charter to defend themselves, their right to defend themselves. And Masoud Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, spoke to this earlier today. This is what he said. Watch.
For years, the Iranian regime has funded and directed attacks against Israel through its terrorist proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Iran has fueled instability across the region, while openly declaring its intent to destroy, to eliminate the state of Israel. But in recent months, the Iranian threat took a dramatic turn. Iran advanced significantly toward nuclear weapons capabilities. Intelligence obtained by Israel revealed a secret program to develop all necessary parts of a bomb: uranium enrichment, triggering mechanisms, and warhead delivery systems. According to the latest IAEA reports, Iran now has enough material for multiple nuclear weapons and has moved dangerously close to operational capability. What's more, Israel uncovered clear evidence that the Iranian regime was planning a surprise attack in coordination with their proxies. They had planned to invade from all sides, with thousands of terrorists and thousands of projectiles. As you know, October 7 was a deeply painful and traumatic day for all of us.
I wonder what an off-ramp looks like here. The Trump administration is still urging the Iranians to come to the negotiating table. There were supposed to be talks in Muscat, Oman over the weekend. What does a political off-ramp look like between Israel and Iran right now?
Well, we have to look at the end results. And the end result should be that Iran has no capability to threaten Israel. We believe the Ayatollahs, when they threaten Israel, when they have this clock in the square in Tehran ticking with the hours until the day Israel will be eliminated, we take it very seriously. So we believe their threats, and once we got the intelligence that they're actually acquiring the means, the capabilities, we took actions.
All right, that was Danny Danon, the Israeli ambassador to the UN, not the Iranian president, who was essentially going to assert in that clip that Iran reserved the right to respond to these attacks in Bali.
All right, Sherwyn, thank you so much for your time. That's SABC News US correspondent there, Sherwyn Bryce-Pease, just giving us the latest when it comes to that Israel